The minivan smelled like goldfish crackers and the synthetic lavender of a car freshener that had been hanging from the rearview mirror since February. I remember that detail because it was the last normal thing I noticed before the world changed lanes on me. My daughter Lily, 7, was in her booster seat behind me, narrating a story to a stuffed elephant named Professor Beans. My son, Owen, 11, had his forehead against the passenger window, watching strip malls pass with the expression of a kid who'd been promised this drive would take 40 minutes and had already counted 60. It was a Saturday, early afternoon. We were supposed to be going to my ex-wife's place in Harrisburg for the week. Standard custody transfer, standard drive. I had 2 bags packed in the back, a cooler with string cheese and juice boxes, and a Waze route that said we'd arrive at 2:47. The first sign wasn't dramatic. It was a highway sign. One of those digital ones PennDOT uses for traffic alerts. Usually it says things like, "Buckle up" or "Expect delays near mile 34. That afternoon it read, "All eastbound lanes closed at interchange 19. Seek alternate route." I didn't think much of it. Construction maybe, an overturned truck. I took the next exit, Route 322 toward Lewistown, figuring I'd loop around and reconnect with 76 further east. Owen said, "Why are we getting off?" "Detour, roads closed ahead. Mum's going to be mad if we're late again." "We won't be late." That was the last promise I made that turned out to be wrong by a normal margin. Everything after that was wrong by a distance I still can't calculate. Route 322 was busier than it should have been for a Saturday. Not gridlocked, but thick. The kind of traffic that doesn't belong on a 2-lane state road. Mostly cars and SUVs, a few pickups with furniture strapped in the beds. I noticed a woman in a Subaru next to me at a light. She had duct tape over her rear passenger window and a German Shepherd in the back seat. No crate. She wasn't looking at the road. She was looking at her phone with the kind of focus people have when they're reading something they wish they hadn't opened. The light changed. She didn't move. I went around her. 3 miles later, we passed a gas station where every pump had a car at it and a line of 6 or 7 more waiting in the lot. A man was arguing with the attendant near the door. Not shouting. That tight, leaned-in kind of arguing where both people know shouting won't help. "Dad, why are all those people at the gas station?" That was Lily. She noticed everything. I used to joke that she'd make a great private investigator someday. Now I think she'd make a great scout. "Busy day," I said. Owen looked at me. He didn't say anything, but I saw him glance at the gas gauge. We were at just under half a tank. Enough to get to Harrisburg, not enough to get lost. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A text from Christine. "Are you seeing the news? Call me when you can." I didn't call. I should have called. Instead, I turned on the radio, scanning through presets until I caught a local AM station out of State College. The host was mid-sentence. "Urging residents to remain indoors until further notice. Authorities have not confirmed the nature of the incidents in Mifflin County, but eyewitness reports describe individuals exhibiting extreme aggression and apparent insensitivity to pain. Police and EMS are overwhelmed. If you are on the road, PennDOT has closed multiple interchanges along Interstate 76 and Route 22. Repeat, remain indoors." I turned it down. Not off. Down. Low enough that the kids couldn't pass the words, but I could still hear tone. "Dad?" Owen said. "Just traffic stuff." That didn't sound like traffic stuff. Owen was 11, but he'd been 11 going on 35 since the divorce. He watched me the way a junior analyst watches a CFO, looking for the gap between what's said and what's meant. I met his eyes in the mirror. "I'm going to figure out a different route. We might be a little late." How late? I don't know yet. That was the first honest thing I said all day. 2 miles past Reedsville, the road split. 322 continued east toward Lewistown, and a smaller road. Route 655, branch north toward Belleville. I knew the area loosely. Christine and I had driven through once on a leaf-peeping trip years ago, back when we still did things like leaf-peeping. Amish country, farms, a few small towns, roads that wound through valleys between ridges. I took 655 on instinct. The eastbound traffic on 322 was thickening into something that didn't look like it was going to move soon, and I had this gut-level sense that narrower roads meant fewer people. For about 4 miles, I was right. The road opened up. Fields on both sides, a few farmhouses set back from the road, cattle standing in that unbothered way cattle have. Lily went back to talking to Professor Beans. Owen put in his earbuds. I let my shoulders drop half an inch. Then we came around a curve and I saw the first one. A man was standing in the middle of the road. Not walking. Not waving for help. Standing slightly off-center facing our direction but not reacting to the van approaching at 40 miles an hour. He was wearing a polo shirt. Blue, tucked in, and khakis. Business casual. One of his shoes was missing. His left arm hung at an angle that arms don't hang at when the shoulder is still in its socket. I slowed. Not because I understood yet. Because a person was in the road. At 30 yards I saw the blood. It wasn't a wound I could identify from the car. It was more like he'd been involved in something. Splatter across the chest, a dark smear along the jaw. His eyes were open and fixed, but not on me. On something past me, or inside him, or nowhere. Dad, why is that man— Don't look, Lily. I went around him. Wide, onto the gravel shoulder, back onto asphalt. In the side mirror I watched him turn. Not fast, not slow, just a rotation of the torso that tracked the van's movement the way a weather vane follows wind. Was he hurt? Owen had taken out one earbud. I think so. Should we help him? No. Owen looked at me. I kept driving. A quarter-mile later there were 2 more. A woman in a floral housecoat crawling along the drainage ditch on the right side of the road, moving with a terrible mechanical persistence, her fingers digging into the gravel. And a teenager, couldn't have been older than 15, walking in the same direction we were driving, barefoot, his gait listing to one side like a boat taking water. I didn't slow down this time. I pressed the accelerator and watched the speedometer climb past 50, past 55, past 60 on a road that wasn't built for 60. Dad, you're going really fast. I know, Owen. Those people look sick. I know. Lily had gone quiet. When I checked the mirror, she was holding Professor Beans against her chest with both arms, watching the window with the expression she used to wear during thunderstorms. Not crying, not asking questions, just holding very still and waiting for the sound to stop. I reached for my phone and called Christine. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. 3rd time she picked up. Mark, where are you? I'm on 655 north of Lewistown. Christine, there are people on the road, sick people. What's happening? It's everywhere. It started this morning. They're saying it might be. I don't know, nobody agrees on what it is. Are the kids with you? Yes. Turn around. Don't come to Harrisburg. That stopped me. Christine had never, in 3 years of co-parenting, told me not to bring the kids. Custody weeks were sacred territory. Legal territory. What do you mean, don't come? The city is. Mark, they closed 83. They closed Front Street. There are National Guard trucks on 2nd Street and they're not letting anyone through. I can see smoke from the apartment. Don't bring the kids here. Where do I go? A pause. In the background I heard something. A sound like a car alarm, but not quite. Faster, more urgent, human maybe. I don't know, she said. Just don't stop. The call dropped. I tried calling back twice. Nothing. Owen was watching me with his earbud out. Both ears open now, his hands flat on his thighs. He'd heard enough. "We're not going to Mum's," he said. Not a question. "Not today." "Where are we going?" I looked at the road ahead. It climbed through a gap between two ridges, the tree line closing in on both sides. "Forward," I said. "We're going forward." The first real blockade appeared 6 miles past Belleville. I came over a rise and the road dropped into a shallow valley where a creek ran alongside the pavement. At the bottom, someone had parked 3 vehicles across both lanes. A dump truck, a tractor, and a white Ford F250 turned sideways. Behind the vehicles, I could see people. 8. Maybe 10. Some standing on the truck bed. Some behind the tractor. A few were holding rifles, but loosely, the way hunters carry them walking back to the truck. Not the way soldiers hold them. I stopped the van about 40 yards back, killed the engine because it seemed like the right thing to do, less threatening than idling toward an armed line. A man walked out from behind the F250, tall, mid-50s, sunburned neck, ball cap with a feed company logo. He held up one hand, palm out. The other rested on a pistol in a hip holster. I rolled down the window. "Road's closed," he said, still 20 feet away. "I can see that. I'm trying to get east. I've got my kids in the car." He came closer, looked past me into the van. Lily had gone completely still, her thunderstorm posture. Owen met the man's eyes directly, which was very Owen. "Where you coming from?" "We were on 76, heading to Harrisburg. Highway's closed. I've been on back roads for an hour. You and everybody else." He leaned one hand on the mirror housing. "I'm Dale. This is Greenwood Township. We shut the road 2 hours ago after a group came through here on foot. Sick. You know what I mean by sick. I saw some on 655. Then you know. We've got maybe 200 people in this valley. Farms, a few families from town. We're not letting vehicles through because every car that comes through here draws more of them. Noise, lights, movement. They follow it. I understand that, but I need to get my kids somewhere safe." Dale looked at me with an expression I'd learned to recognize over the coming days. The look of someone who has already made a decision they don't enjoy enforcing. "Somewhere safe isn't east of here, friend. Lewistown's gone. Harrisburg's locked down or worse. You can turn around, head back towards State College, try the northern routes, or you can pull off here and we'll find you a spot for the night. And if I want to keep going east, then you'll have to find another road. This one's ours now." The word ours landed differently than he probably meant it, or maybe exactly how he meant it. The road was a public road, state-maintained, taxpayer-funded, 2 faded yellow lines down the center. And a man I'd never met was telling me it belonged to his community now, and that my children and I could not pass. I looked in the rearview mirror. Lily was watching Dale through the window. Owen was watching me. "Is there another road east?" Dale paused. Something shifted in his face. Not hostility, but calculation. He was deciding what information cost him to share. "There's old logging roads up on the ridge. 4-runner or a truck might make it. That minivan won't. South, there's Route 35, but last I heard from a trucker on CB, there's a bigger group blocking the bridge at Port Royal. Same deal as us, but less friendly." "Less friendly how?" "We're asking you to turn around. They're not asking." Owen spoke from the passenger seat, his voice carrying a clarity that surprised both me and Dale. "What about the people who are sick? Are they getting through your roadblock?" Dale looked at my son for a long moment. "Not anymore," he said. The way he said it closed a door I didn't want to look behind. I thanked Dale. I turned the van around in a farm access road, gravel crunching under the tires, and headed back the way we came with less than a quarter tank of gas and no destination. In the mirror, Lily finally spoke. "Dad, are we lost?" No, sweetheart, I know exactly where we are. That was true. I knew exactly where we were. The problem was that knowing where you are doesn't matter when every direction out is someone else's territory. I drove north. Not because north was better, but because north was the only direction that hadn't already told me no. The fuel gauge was the thing I was really watching. The needle sat just below the quarter tank line, which in a 2019 Honda Odyssey meant somewhere between 50 and 70 miles, depending on speed and terrain. 50 miles of searching for a way through, 70 if I drove like a coward, which, let's be honest, was exactly what I was doing. I was driving the speed limit on roads where the speed limit no longer applied because the institutions that posted the signs had, in the last 6 hours, stopped existing in any functional way. Owen had his phone out. No signal. Cell service had dropped somewhere around Belleville, but he was using the offline map he'd downloaded for a school geocaching project last month. He'd pulled it up without being asked. "There's a road," he said. "Looks like it goes east from McVeytown. Joins back up with 22 eventually." "How big?" "I can't tell. No street view loaded. It's just a line." "A line is better than nothing." We were threading through farm country, the kind of landscape that looks peaceful until you realize the emptiness isn't peace. It's absence. The farms we passed showed signs of rapid departure. A front door standing open, laundry still on a line. A tractor stopped mid-row in a half-ploughed field, engine off, no one in the seat. Once we passed a mailbox where a hand-lettered sign had been duct-taped to the post. "Gone south. God help us." "Dad, I need to use the bathroom." "Lily." "Of course, because biology doesn't recognize apocalypse." "Can you hold it for a little bit?" I've been holding it. I pulled over at the next wide spot. A gravel turnout near a trailhead for a state forest. The parking lot was empty except for a single car, a silver Corolla with both rear tires flat and the driver's door open. I got out, checked the tree line, listened. Birdsong. Wind in the canopy, nothing wrong except that nothing wrong felt wrong now. "Owen, stay in the car with your sister. Lily, you can go right there behind that sign. I'll stand here. I'm not going outside." "Sweetheart, there's no one here." "There might be sick people." I knelt next to the open sliding door. Lily was gripping Professor Bean so hard the stuffing was compressing visibly. Her eyes were dry, but her jaw was set in that way I recognized from her mother. The expression Christine wore when she was about to either cry or fight and hadn't decided which. "I'll be right here. Owen will be right here. You'll be able to see us the whole time. 30 seconds. She went. I stood with my back to her, scanning the road in both directions, feeling ridiculous and terrified in equal measure. A copywriter from Mechanicsburg standing guard at a state forest parking lot while his 7-year-old peed behind a trail sign because the world had ended and the bathrooms were all locked. When she got back in the van, she said, "There's a lady in that car." "What?" "The silver car, there's a lady, she's sleeping." I looked at the Corolla, walked closer. Through the open driver's door, I could see a woman slumped against the center console. Middle-aged, grey cardigan, seatbelt still on. There was a phone in her lap, screen dark. No visible blood, no visible injury. She could have been sleeping. She wasn't sleeping. I got back in the van and pulled out without saying anything. Owen looked at me. I shook my head once. Very slightly, he understood. 3 miles later, we reached the junction Owen had found on his map. A narrow road, barely 2 lanes, winding east through a hollow between ridges. No sign of traffic, no blockade, no people at all. "This is it," Owen said. "If the map's right, it connects to Route 22 in about 12 miles. 12 miles. 20 minutes at the speed I was willing to drive. Maybe 15% of the remaining fuel. And if the map's wrong, then it dead ends and we wasted gas." I turned east. The road climbed immediately, switchbacking through second-growth forest, the canopy closing overhead until the afternoon light came through in broken slats. It was beautiful. I remember thinking that, how offensively beautiful the world was while it was ending. We made it 4 miles before we found the bridge. It wasn't a big bridge, maybe 30 feet across a creek that was running high from last week's rain. Concrete deck, steel guardrails, 1 lane wide. And it was blocked. Not by vehicles, not by people with rifles, but by a body. Someone had died on the bridge, violently, recently, and without anyone coming to move them afterward, and the details don't matter, and I won't describe them in front of what I can still see when I close my eyes, except to say that whoever this person had been, they had tried to cross, and something had caught them before they made it. I stopped the van 30 feet back. The engine idled. Owen stared through the windshield. "Don't let Lily see." "I'm not going to let Lily see." "Lily, can you close your eyes for a minute?" "Why?" "There's a tree down on the road. I need to go move it. Close your eyes and count to 100 with Professor Beans." "I can count to 100. "I know you can." I got out. The air smelled like creek water and something else. Something metallic and organic that I'd never smelled before and have never been able to forget. I walked towards the bridge, watching the tree line on both sides, watching the road ahead where it curved out of sight on the far bank. What was on the bridge needed to be moved. That's the practical truth. I could not drive over it, and I could not drive around it. The creek was too deep and too fast for the van. The shoulders dropped off steeply into the water on both sides. The bridge was the only way. I won't describe what I did. I'll say it took about 90 seconds and that I used a floor mat from the van and that I washed my hands in the creek 4 times afterward, and that when I got back in the driver's seat, Owen was looking at me with an expression that wasn't horror. It was assessment. He was watching how I handled it, filing it away, building his own manual for a world that required new skills. "Was it a sick person?" he asked. "I think a sick person did that. But whoever was on the bridge wasn't sick. They were just unlucky." We crossed. The road continued climbing through the hollow, narrower now, the pavement cracking and patched, the kind of road that gets maintained last and forgotten first. After another 2 miles, we passed a house, a small rancher set into the hillside with a blue tarp over part of the roof. A pickup truck sat in the driveway, and as we passed, I saw a curtain move in the front window. Someone was watching us. Someone who had decided not to flag us down, not to block the road, not to engage, just to watch and wait for us to pass. I was beginning to understand the taxonomy of survival responses. There were the Dales, the organizers who drew lines and held them. There were the runners, the people with furniture in their truck beds. There were the watchers, the ones behind curtains conserving energy, waiting for information. And there were people like me, the ones driving in circles, burning gas they couldn't replace, looking for a gap in a fence that was closing from every direction. The road ended, not at Route 22, not at another junction. It ended in a gravel turnaround in front of a locked gate with a pen-dot sign. Road closed. Seasonal maintenance. Beyond the gate, the road surface devolved into dirt, and then grass, and then nothing, swallowed by the forest in about 50 yards. Owen stared at his phone. At the map. At the line that had been a road. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't be sorry, the map didn't lie, the road just stopped being a road." I turned around, we'd burned the gas, the needle was nudging toward the E, and the light hadn't come on yet but would soon. We drove back through the hollow in silence, past the house with the curtain watcher, over the bridge where I didn't look down, and back to the junction. I pulled over, turned off the engine, sat with my hands on the wheel. The fuel light came on, that small orange icon that, in normal life, meant a mild inconvenience and a 4-minute stop. Now it meant the radius of our world was shrinking in real time, and soon the minivan would stop being transportation and start being shelter. "Dad," Lily said from the back. "Yeah, I'm hungry." I reached into the cooler and handed her a string cheese. She peeled it carefully, strand by strand, the way she always did. And for a moment the world contracted to something I could hold. My daughter eating string cheese in a booster seat, the sound of peeling and chewing, the ordinary persistence of appetite. We coasted more than drove to the nearest farmhouse, a white clapboard place about a mile back toward Belleville, set well off the road with a long dirt lane and a hay barn behind it. I chose it because it looked maintained but not fortified. No vehicles blocking the drive, no signs, no people visible, just a house, a barn, and an empty pasture. I pulled up the lane slowly, windows down, engine barely above idle. When we reached the yard, I turned off the van and sat for a full minute, listening. Chickens somewhere behind the barn, a screen door banging softly in the breeze. No voices. "Stay in the car, both of you. Owen, lock the doors when I get out." "Where are you going?" "To ask if anyone's home." The front door was closed but not locked. I knocked, waited, knocked again, called out, "Hello, we're just passing through. I've got 2 kids in the car, we need gas if you have any." Nothing. I pushed the door open. The house was tidy. Dishes in a drying rack. A newspaper on the kitchen table. Yesterday's, Friday's, with a coffee mug beside it, half full, cold. A pair of boots by the door, the kind someone wears to the barn and back. Whoever lived here had left on their own terms, not in panic. The absence was deliberate. In the garage, I found a 5-gallon gas can. It was full. Beside it, a second can also full. 10 gallons, enough to nearly fill the Odyssey's tank. Enough to get us somewhere. I also found a CB radio on a workbench, plugged in and powered on. The display showed Channel 9. I picked up the handset and keyed it, not sure what I expected. Static. Then a voice. Distant. Compressed. The accent. Local. Way. "If anyone's on 655, do not proceed south past Reedsville. They're on the road in numbers. 30, 40, maybe more. Came down from the ridge. This is Jericho at Greenwood. If you're mobile, head north toward 322 and take the Potter's Mills Gap. Route 45 is open as of 30 minutes ago. Repeat. Route 45 is open west through the gap. Do not go south." The voice repeated the message twice more, then went silent. Route 45. West through Potter's Mills. I knew that road. It ran through a mountain gap towards State College and eventually connected to Interstate 80. West, not east. Away from Harrisburg, away from Christine, but open. I poured both gas cans into the van while Owen watched from inside. 10 gallons sluicing into the tank, the most beautiful sound in the world. The sound of range, of options, of not being anchored to one spot. When I got back in, Owen said, "I heard the radio from here. You left the garage door open." "What did you hear?" "Enough, we're going west. We're going where the road is open." "That's west." "Yes." "Mum is east." I gripped the steering wheel. The vinyl was warm from the sun. I could feel every ridge of the stitching under my palms. "Mum told us not to come." "Mum told you not to bring us. She didn't say she didn't need help." Owen was 11. He was also in that moment completely right, and I hated him a little for it. Hated him the way you hate someone who makes you see the thing you'd arranged not to see. "Owen, I can't drive into a city that the National Guard has locked down with you and your sister in the car. So what's the plan? Drive west until we run out of west? The plan is to keep you alive." He looked at me for a long moment. Then he put his earbud back in and turned towards the window. Lily said. Is Professor Beans going to be okay? Professor Beans is going to be fine, I said. I started the van. I turned north. Route 45 was open the way a wound is open. Technically passable, but not in any condition you'd choose. The road itself was clear of blockades, which meant Jericho's CB broadcast had been accurate. But clear didn't mean empty. We passed abandoned vehicles every quarter mile. Some pulled off properly, some stopped mid-lane with doors open, some with belongings scattered on the shoulder, as if someone had tried to carry too much and made hard choices at a walking pace about what to drop. A child's bicycle, a suitcase, open, clothes strewn. A dog crate, empty. The door bent outward. Lily catalogued everything. There's a blue suitcase, there's a bike, there's shoes. 2 shoes, they don't match. There's a dog cage, but there's no dog. Where's the dog, Dad? The dog got out. The dog is fine. How do you know? Dogs are fast and smart. Professor Beans says dogs are the 4th smartest animal. Professor Beans is correct. We drove through Potter's Mills and into the gap between the ridges. The mountains closed in on either side, forested slopes rising steeply from the road, and for a few miles it felt almost normal, like a family driving through the mountains on an autumn afternoon, which it almost was except for the abandoned cars and the smoke column rising in the east, and my white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel. 8 miles past the gap, approaching the outskirts of State College, we hit traffic. Not the rural trickle of cars we'd been navigating, but genuine suburban density traffic. A line of vehicles stretching ahead as far as I could see from the crest of a small hill. Some were moving at walking speed. Most were stopped. I slowed and joined the line. We crept forward for 20 minutes, covering maybe a quarter mile. I could see ahead the I-80 interchange, the on-ramps rising over the highway, the gas stations and fast food places clustered at the intersection. Normally, this was a 5-minute pass-through. Today, it was something else. Turn the radio on, Owen said. I found the AM station, different voice this time, faster, less composed. 80 interchange is at capacity. State police are routing eastbound traffic onto local roads. If you are attempting to access I-80 West, be advised that the Bellefonte exit is closed due to a vehicle fire. Westbound traffic is moving at approximately 5 miles per hour between mile markers 158 and 171. All travelers are strongly urged to shelter in place. If you do not have a confirmed destination, do not get on the highway. Repeat. I turned it down. We sat. The engine idled. The fuel gauge had recovered thanks to the farmhouse gas cans, but sitting in traffic was the worst possible use of it, burning gas to go nowhere. After 40 minutes, a man walked down the line of cars. He was moving vehicle to vehicle, leaning into windows. When he reached us, I saw he was young, mid-20s, thin, wearing a Penn State hoodie and carrying a backpack with a sleeping bag strapped to the bottom. Hey, you trying to get on 80? Trying to go west. Interchange is a parking lot. State police had a checkpoint, but they left about an hour ago. Now it's just cars. Nobody's directing anything. What happened to the police? He shrugged, but it wasn't casual. It was the shrug of someone who'd watched something leave and understood it wasn't coming back. They got a call. All of them. Got in their cruisers and left. Since then, it's been. I mean, people are trying to self-organize, but nobody agrees on who goes first. Is 80 moving at all? Barely. And there's a problem. He lowered his voice, glancing at the back seat. There are infected on the highway. Not many, 5, 6 that I saw. But they're in between the cars. People are stuck in traffic, and those things are just walking through it. My stomach dropped. Walking through it how? Trying doors. If a door's locked, they keep moving. If it's not, he trailed off, just keep your doors locked and your windows up. And if you can, Get off before the interchange. There's a side road, Atherton Street, that goes through town. It's not fast, but it's moving. Thank you, He nodded and moved to the next car. I watched him go. This kid with a backpack, walking the line, sharing information for free, expecting nothing back. I thought of Dale at the Greenwood roadblock, trading information like currency. This kid was just giving it away. Owen, look at the map. Atherton Street. Where does it go? Owen was already on it. Runs through town. If we can get to the other side of State College, there's a road, Route 26, that goes north, joins back up with 80 past the interchange. Good, let's get out of this line. I pulled out of the queue, bumping over a curb and through the parking lot of a Sheetz gas station. The lot was chaos. Cars parked at angles, people arguing at the pumps, a family sitting on the curb eating fast food that must have been the last thing the kitchen produced before the staff walked out. I threaded through it, found the road, and turned south toward town. State College was a college town on a Saturday in what should have been a football weekend. The streets should have been full of tailgaters and students. Instead, they were full of cars trying to leave and people trying to decide whether to join them. We were on Atherton, 3 blocks south of the main commercial strip, when someone ran into the road. Not an infected. A woman, mid-30s, holding a child against her chest. A toddler, maybe 2, and waving her free arm. She was limping. Her left pant leg was dark with something wet. I stopped. I shouldn't have stopped. Every survival instinct, every piece of advice, every rational calculation said don't stop, don't engage, don't add variables. I stopped because she was holding a child and limping, and because my daughter was watching. The woman reached my window. Her face was streaked with sweat and tears and dirt. Please, I need... My car broke down 4 blocks ago and my husband went to find help, and he hasn't come back, and there are some of them on College Avenue. I could hear them. Please, I just need a ride out of town. I looked at her. At the toddler, who was silent in the way that very scared small children go silent. At her leg. Are you hurt? I fell. Running. I tripped on a curb. It's my knee. I can't carry him and walk fast enough. Are you bit? Scratched? Did any of them touch you? She shook her head. No, I swear. We were in the car. It just died. I think the battery. It doesn't matter. Please. Owen was looking at me. Lily was looking at me. The woman was looking at me. I unlocked the sliding door. Get in. Sit in the back with my daughter. She climbed in, clutching the toddler, and collapsed into the seat next to Lily's booster. The toddler, a boy, dark hair, flushed cheeks, stared at Lily. Lily stared back. I'm Lily. This is Professor Beans. I'm Elena, the woman said. This is Marco. Hi, Marco. Marco said nothing. Elena was breathing hard, her injured knee bent at an angle that made me wince in sympathy. Where were you going? I asked, pulling back into traffic. My sister's place. She's in Williamsport, north of here. That's where Route 26 goes, Owen said. Elena looked at him. You know the roads? I have a map. Something passed between them. Not trust exactly, but the recognition of complementary utility. She had a destination. He had a map. The transaction was wordless and immediate. We pushed through State College. The town was emptying in real time, like watching a bathtub drain. Stores were closed, some with handwritten signs. Closed until further notice. Stay safe. God bless. Others had broken windows, though whether from looting or something else I couldn't tell. On the north side of town, the traffic thinned. Route 26 opened up. A 2-lane highway climbing into the mountains. The same kind of road I'd been on all day, but this one was nearly empty. I pressed the accelerator to 55 and felt the van respond like a horse sensing open pasture. Elena, where is your husband? She was looking out the window. The toddler had fallen asleep against her chest. He went to find someone with jumper cables and he said he'd be 10 minutes. How long ago? An hour, maybe more. I didn't say anything. Owen didn't say anything. Lily was showing Marco's sleeping form to Professor Beans, narrating quietly. He's resourceful, Eleanor said. He's probably fine, right now. I recognized that voice. It was the voice I'd used when I told Owen we'd be on time, when I told Lily the dog was fine, when I told myself that the next road would be open. The voice of someone building a bridge over a gap they can't see the bottom of. We'll get you to Williamsport, I said. When it's safe, you can get word to him. She nodded. Outside, the mountains rose around us. The road climbed. The van was full now. 2 adults, 3 children, a stuffed elephant, and the expanding silence of things we were all choosing not to say. 20 miles north of State College, the road descended into a river valley. The Susquehanna, the west branch, narrower here than the wide, flat version near Harrisburg, but still substantial. The road followed the river for a while, winding along its banks, and the late afternoon light made the water look like hammered copper. We passed through a town called Lamar, small. Gas station, post office, a diner, a few dozen houses. It was quiet, but not empty. I saw people in yards, on porches. A man was boarding up a first-floor window with plywood. A woman was carrying grocery bags from a truck to a house with the focused efficiency of someone who'd done the math on how much food she had and how long it needed to last. These weren't people fleeing. They were people staying, digging in, making the calculation that the place they were in was better than whatever the roads offered. I thought about stopping. The gas from the farmhouse cans would get us further, but not indefinitely. The kids were hungry. String cheese and goldfish crackers weren't going to sustain them much longer, and Elena's knee was swelling visibly, the joint puffing up under her jeans. But I didn't stop, because stopping meant choosing, and choosing meant giving up the idea that somewhere ahead was better. As long as I was driving and I could believe the next town, the next road, the next junction would be the one that opened up and delivered us to safety. Stopping was admitting there was no such place. Mark, Elena's voice from the back seat. She'd picked up my name from Owen using it. Mark, I need to tell you something. Okay? My knee is worse than I said. I felt something pop when I fell. I don't think I can walk on it. We're in a car. You don't need to walk. I'm saying, if something happens and we have to leave the car, I'm going to slow you down. Me and Marco, we're going to be the slow ones. I need you to know that. Owen turned in his seat to look at her. Lily was watching too. We know that, Owen said. His voice carried a steadiness that I wanted to claim credit for but couldn't. It was his own. Something forged in the last 6 hours out of materials I hadn't provided. We're not leaving you on the road. Elena looked at my son, then at me. He's like that all the time, I said. Don't encourage him. The thinnest possible smile crossed her face. The first I'd seen. We drove on. The river ran alongside us, patient and vast, unconcerned. After another 30 minutes, the road crossed the Susquehanna on a 2-lane bridge. A long one, maybe a quarter mile, with concrete barriers on each side and no shoulder to speak of. I saw the problem from 300 yards out. The bridge wasn't blocked in the organized way Dale's Road had been blocked. It was blocked by accumulation. Cars that had tried to cross met something in the middle and stopped. Some had tried to turn around and gotten wedged against each other. Others had simply been abandoned, doors open, belongings scattered. The bridge was a graveyard of interrupted transit, and among the cars, moving with that terrible, purposeless drift, were infected. Not 30 or 40, like Jericho had warned about on the southern roads. Maybe 8 or 10, visible between the vehicles, moving in the aimless patterns I was learning to recognize. The slow pivot, the pause, the sudden cock of the head when a sound registered. I stopped the van on the approach road, 200 yards from the first stalled car. "We can't cross that," Elena said. "No. Is there another bridge?" Owen was already checking. "Next crossing north is at Loch Haven and 12 miles. And south. We came from south." We sat. The sun was getting low, throwing long shadows across the river. The light caught the infected on the bridge in silhouette. Dark shapes moving between dark shapes, indistinguishable from the cars except for their motion. Lily said, "Professor Beans wants to know if we can go over the water." "We can't go over the water, sweetheart." "Can we go under it?" "No." "Can we wait until the sick people leave?" I looked at my daughter. Professor Beans was tucked under her chin, his worn trunk draped over her collarbone. She wasn't panicking. She was problem-solving, running through options the way a child does, linearly, exhaustively, without embarrassment. "That's actually not a bad idea," Owen said. "Do they stay in one place? Or do they move on?" I thought about the man on 655, the one in the polo shirt. He'd been standing still. The ones near Reedsville had been moving, but slowly and in one direction. The ones on the bridge seemed to be drifting among the cars, but without apparent purpose. "I don't know," I said. "I don't know enough about how they work." "Nobody does," Elena said. "The radio was saying different things every hour before the stations went off." I turned the van around and found a pull-off overlooking the river, 50 yards from the bridge approach. I turned off the engine. "We wait," I said. "We eat what we have, we sleep if we can, and we watch." It was the first time I'd chosen to stop moving. It felt like surrender. It felt like sense. I couldn't tell the difference. Night came fast in the valley. The sun dropped behind the western ridge, and within 20 minutes the world went from amber to grey to black. No streetlights. The power was out, or had been shut off, or nobody was operating the systems that kept the lights on. The only illumination was the van's dome light, which I turned off immediately, and the faint ambient glow of a sky without light pollution. Lily fell asleep first. She curled around Professor Beans in her booster seat, her breathing going slow and regular with the ease of a child who trusts that someone else is managing the crisis. Marco had been asleep for hours, tucked against Elena's good side, his small fist gripping the fabric of her shirt. Owen wouldn't sleep. He sat in the passenger seat with his knees drawn up, watching the bridge through the windshield. In the darkness, the infected were invisible. No movement we could detect, no sound carrying over the river's white noise. They might still be there. They might have drifted off. We couldn't know without getting closer, and getting closer in the dark was not something I was willing to do. "Dad." "Yeah." "What if we're still here tomorrow, and the bridge is still blocked? Then we drive to Loch Haven." "With what gas?" He'd done the math. Of course he had. We had maybe 40 miles of fuel. Loch Haven was 12 miles north, but that assumed a clear road, a clear bridge, and a clear route on the other side. If Loch Haven was blocked too, we'd have used the gas and gained nothing. "I'll figure it out." "You keep saying that, because I keep meaning it. That's not the same as it being true." I sat with that. The darkness outside was total. The kind of darkness that suburban people never experience. The kind that presses against the windows like something solid. "Owen, I need you to let me be your dad right now." "What does that mean?" "It means I need you to let me pretend I have a plan even when I don't. Because the alternative is me sitting here telling a 7-year-old and a woman with a blown knee and a toddler that I have no idea what I'm doing. And that doesn't help anyone." He was quiet for a long time, then, "Okay, but just so you know, I can tell the difference." "I know you can. And Lily can too, she just doesn't say it." That hit somewhere deep. The idea that my daughter's composure wasn't innocence but tact, that she was protecting me from her own fear, opened a door in my chest that I very carefully closed and locked and put a chair against. Elena spoke from the darkness of the back seat. My husband's name is David. He works for the city. Public works. He fixes things. Pipes. Roads. Electrical stuff. He went to find jumper cables and he didn't come back. I know. I keep running it in my head. 10 minutes, he said, 10 minutes. That's 3 blocks in any direction. What happens in 3 blocks that keeps a person from coming back? I didn't answer. We both knew the answer. If I can get to my sister's, she has a landline. Old copper wire, independent of cell towers. If anything's still working, that will be. Is your sister expecting you? No, we hadn't talked in a while. Family stuff. The kind of stupid thing that seems important until something actually important happens. I know about that kind of stupid thing. I figured. Divorced dad doing the Saturday custody drive, and I recognized the energy. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Almost. My ex-wife is in Harrisburg, I said. She told me not to come, the city's locked down. So you're driving away from her? I'm driving toward Alive. That's the direction, not east or west. Alive. Elena shifted in her seat, wincing as her knee moved. Marco murmured in his sleep and resettled. Alive is a good direction, she said. We sat in darkness, listening to the river, the sleeping children, the absence of everything we'd taken for granted 12 hours ago. Somewhere on the bridge, things that used to be people stood among things that used to be transportation, and the river ran beneath them all without opinion. I woke to Owen shaking my shoulder. I hadn't meant to fall asleep. I'd been sitting with my forehead against the steering wheel, just resting my eyes, the oldest lie in the parental playbook. Dad. Look. Dawn. Pale and grey, the valley filled with mist rising off the river. The bridge was visible now. The stalled cars, the concrete barriers, and the far bank where the road continued into forest. The infected were gone. I stared, counted the cars, scanned the gaps between them. Nothing moved. No silhouettes, no drifting figures, just abandoned vehicles and morning fog. They moved on? Lily was right, Owen said. They don't stay. We don't know that. They could be between the cars, where we can't see them. So we drive slow and find out. I looked at the bridge. It was passable. Barely. The cars were staggered enough that a careful driver could weave between them. Some of the doors that stood open would need to be closed first. It would mean getting out. Walking the bridge on foot, at least partially, within arm's reach of vehicles that might contain things I didn't want to discover. I'll walk it first. Check the gaps. I'm coming with you. No. Dad. Owen, this isn't a negotiation. I need you in the driver's seat with the engine running. If something happens to me on that bridge, you drive. Not toward me. Away. You take your sister and Elena and Marco and you drive north to Lock Haven and you figure it out. I'm 11. I can't drive. You can reach the pedals if you push the seat forward. I've seen you steer in the driveway. That was 10 feet at 2 miles an hour. Scale it up. He stared at me. I could see him fighting it. The child's desire to argue. The survivor's recognition that the plan, however terrible, was a plan. Fine, he said. But if you're not back in 10 minutes, I'm honking the horn. Don't honk the horn. Then come back in 10 minutes. I took a tire iron from the back, not because I thought it would help against what I'd seen, but because holding something heavy made my hands stop shaking. I kissed Lily's forehead. She stirred, but didn't wake. Elena caught my eye and nodded once, the nod of someone who understood what was being risked and couldn't offer to share the risk. The walk to the bridge took 2 minutes. The bridge itself took longer. I checked every car, some were empty. Doors open, keys still in ignition. Some had occupants. I'm going to be careful about what I say here. Most of them were dead. Not infected. Dead. People who had been caught in their cars when the bridge jammed and the infected wandered through. People who hadn't locked their doors, or whose windows were already down, or who had gotten out to see what the holdup was. One car, a red Honda Civic, had a woman in the driver's seat who was alive. She was staring straight ahead, hands on the wheel, engine off. When I tapped on the window, she didn't respond. Her eyes didn't move. She was breathing, but wherever her mind was, it wasn't on this bridge. I moved on. I checked the gaps between cars, looked under them, looked in truck beds and back seats. The bridge was clear. On the way back, I closed the doors that were blocking the path and nudged one car's front end toward the barrier to widen a gap. It took me 14 minutes. When I got back to the van, Owen was in the driver's seat with the seat pushed forward, his feet on the pedals, his face tight with the effort of not honking the horn. I got in on the passenger side. Move over. The bridge? Clear. We go slow. Nobody looks out the windows. I want to look out the windows, Lily said. She was awake. Professor Beans in her lap. Her eyes alert. Not this time, sweetheart. Close your eyes and count the bumps. Tell me how many bumps the bridge has. How long is the bridge? Long enough that you'll lose count. That's the game. She closed her eyes. I started the van, pulled onto the bridge approach, and began threading through the dead cars at walking speed. Owen navigated, pointing left or right at each gap. Elena held Marco against her chest with one arm and gripped the door handle with the other. It took 4 minutes to cross, the longest 4 minutes, when we reached the far side and the road opened up, clear, empty, winding into forest. I accelerated to 50 and didn't slow down for 10 miles. 37, Lily said. 37 what? Bumps. The bridge had 37 bumps. Good counting. Professor Beans says that's a lot of bumps. Professor Beans is right. 20 minutes past the bridge, we entered the outskirts of Lock Haven. I hadn't planned on stopping. The bridge was behind us. The road was open, and northward momentum felt like the only currency I had. But the van made the decision for me. The engine stuttered at a stop sign, recovered, stuttered again. I pulled into the parking lot of a hardware store. The lot was mostly empty. 3 cars, a flatbed trailer with a riding mower on it, and an older woman sitting in a folding chair near the entrance with a shotgun across her lap. Morning, she said as I got out. She was 60-ish, silver hair, reading glasses pushed up on her forehead. She said it the way you'd greet someone coming into a diner. Morning. Is this your store? My husband's. He's inside moving stock to the back. We need gas. Is there a station open? Power's been out since last night. Pumps don't work without power. Curtis. That's my husband. He's got a hand pump and some drums of diesel. But you're running gasoline, aren't you? Unfortunately, she considered. Russ Oberlin, 3 blocks north, has a farm tank. Gasoline. He was selling at $50 a gallon this morning, but he might have adjusted the price by now. Adjusted up or down? What do you think? I had $80 in my wallet, a debit card that was useless without networks, a credit card equally decorative. I don't have much cash. She looked past me at the van, at Owen in the passenger seat, Lily in the back, Eleanor with the toddler. How many kids? 2 of mine, 1 belongs to a woman we picked up in State College. Picked up? She was in the road, hurt knee, her husband's missing. The woman studied me with the calibration of someone who had spent decades assessing people across a counter. I'm Helen, pull around back. Curtis has 4 gallons of regular he keeps for the generator. We haven't needed it. He rigged a battery bank last year, and I'll give you the gas. I can't just take your gas. You're not taking it. I'm giving it. There's a difference, and I'm old enough to know which one I'm doing. I pulled around back. Curtis was a lean, quiet man who moved gas cans the way he probably moved everything efficiently, without conversation. He filled the van while Helen brought out a grocery bag. Crackers, canned peaches, 2 bottles of water, a sleeve of Fig Newtons. For the kids, she said, handing it to Owen through the window. Owen looked at the bag, then at Helen. Thank you. You're welcome. Route 220 North will take you toward Williamsport. It was clear as of last night, but I haven't heard anything this morning. The CB went quiet around 4 a.m. Quiet how? Quiet like people stopped talking. Could be they're fine and have nothing to report. Could be the other thing. No way to know from here. I thanked her, shook Curtis's hand, pulled back onto the road heading north, 4 gallons richer and carrying a bag of food that a stranger had given us because she decided to. Lily ate a Fig Newton with the careful deliberation of a food critic. Marco woke up and Elena gave him crackers, which he ate with both fists. Owen ate nothing. He was watching the road. That was nice of them, Elena said. Yeah. David would say not everyone is nice for free. He'd say to check the gas for sugar. Is David usually right? About people, no. About engines, yes. I checked the rearview mirror out of habit. The road behind us was empty. Ahead, Route 220 climbed into the mountains, a 2-lane ribbon threading between ridgelines that looked, from this angle, like the spines of sleeping animals. We were 40 miles from Williamsport. Half a tank of gas, 4 people, 3 children, a stuffed elephant, and something that felt less like hope and more like stubbornness. The refusal to stop moving when every road kept trying to make us stop. The last 30 miles should have been simple. Route 220 North, straight into Williamsport. 1 road, 1 direction, 1 destination. But nothing was one thing anymore. We hit the first problem 12 miles out. A tractor-trailer had jackknifed across both lanes on a curve, the cab in the ditch and the trailer blocking the road at an angle that left no gap. Fresh. The engine was still ticking, cooling. The cab was empty, the driver's door open, a thermos of coffee spilled across the passenger seat. I got out and walked the shoulder. On the right side, the ground dropped sharply into a ravine. On the left, a steep embankment led up to a cleared field. No way around the trailer in the van. But on foot, on the left side, above the trailer, the field was accessible. If we climbed the embankment, we could walk along the field edge and rejoin the road on the other side of the wreck. Maybe 300 yards. The problem was Eleanor. She was standing by the van, weight on her right leg, her left knee visibly swollen even through her jeans. Marco was on her hip. She was looking at the embankment the way a math student looks at a problem they already know they can't solve. I can't climb that. I'll help you. Mark, I'm 140 pounds. Marco is 25. My knee won't bend past 45 degrees. You can't carry both of us up a hillside. Then I'll make 2 trips. While the kids wait alone? On which side? She was right. The geometry didn't work. 1 adult, 3 children, 1 immobile passenger, and a hillside that required both hands and 2 working legs. Owen said, I'll carry Marco. Elena looked at him. You're 11. He's 25 pounds. I carried a 30-pound pack on a school camping trip last year. I can do it. Up a hillside? It's not Everest, it's a field. Elena looked at me. I looked at Owen. He wasn't bragging. He was presenting a logistics solution, flat and factual. Okay, I said. Here's how we do it. Owen carries Marco up the embankment and waits at the top. I take Lily up. Then I come back for Eleanor. I'm not being carried, Elena said. You're being supported. Lean on me, keep weight on the right leg. I'll handle the grade. And if we see infected, then we move faster. I can't move faster. That's the whole point. I came around the van and stood in front of her. Marco was chewing on a cracker, unconcerned. Elena's face was tight, not with pain, though there was that, but with the specific frustration of being a liability when she'd spent her whole life being competent. Eleanor, we're getting you to your sister's house, all of us. On the other side of that trailer, the road is clear. Williamsport is 12 miles, that's 20 minutes. You don't know the road is clear. I know it's clearer than standing here. She took a breath, handed Marco to Owen, who adjusted the toddler on his hip with a naturalness that surprised me. He'd never been around small children much, but something about the day had stripped away self-consciousness and left only competence. We climbed. Owen went first with Marco, Lily behind him, making it a game, counting steps the way she'd counted bridge bumps. I came last with Elena, her arm over my shoulders, taking the hillside in a slow diagonal traverse that turned 30 vertical feet into 100 feet of walking. Her grip on my shoulder was crushing. She didn't make a sound. Not one. At the top, the field stretched out. Mowed grass, probably a hayfield running parallel to the road. We walked along it, the five of us, a strange little column moving through open ground with the mountains on either side and the morning air smelling like cut grass and diesel from the wrecked truck below. Lily held Owen's free hand. Owen held Marco. I held Eleanor. We were connected physically by necessity and something about that chain of contact, that unbroken line of hands and shoulders and weight, felt like the first real structure we'd built since the outbreak began. Not a barricade, not a plan, just people holding on to each other because the alternative was falling. We rejoined the road on the other side of the wreck. The pavement stretched ahead, clear. I could see, in the distance, the first buildings of the Williamsport suburbs. That's it, Elena said. That's the valley. My sister's place is on the west side, near the river. Owen set Marco down. The toddler immediately walked to Lily and grabbed Professor Beans's trunk. Lily let him. We need a car, I said. There's one right there, Owen said. He pointed. A pickup truck, parked on the shoulder just past the wreck, keys visible in the cup holder through the open window, a toolbox in the bed, Pennsylvania plates. Someone had pulled over, gotten out, and not come back. Another entry in the growing catalogue of interrupted journeys. I got in. The engine started. The gas gauge read 3/4 full. I pulled the truck alongside the field edge, and we loaded in. Elena and Marco in the cab with me, Owen and Lily in the bed, sitting against the toolbox, the wind in their hair. Under other circumstances, I'd never let my kids ride in a truck bed. Under these circumstances, I watched them in the mirror and saw two children who looked, for the first time in 24 hours, like they were moving towards something instead of away. Elena's sister lived in a small house on a dead-end street near the river. White siding, green shutters, a garden that had been tended recently. As we pulled up the street, Elena leaned forward in her seat, scanning. There, the one with the blue door. The blue door was closed. The windows were intact. A car sat in the driveway, a sensible sedan, properly parked. On the porch, a pair of gardening gloves lay on the railing, as if someone had just taken them off. I stopped the truck. Elena was already reaching for the door handle. Wait. Let me check first. It's my sister's house. I know, but let me check. I got out, walked to the porch, knocked. The sound was shockingly loud in the quiet street. I waited. Knocked again. The blue door opened. A woman stood there. Mid-40s, Eleanor's features but sharper, her hair pulled back and a kitchen knife in her hand. She saw me and the knife came up. Who are you? My name is Mark. I have your sister in the truck. The knife didn't lower. My sister. Elena and her son Marco. She's hurt her knee. Her husband is missing. The woman looked past me at the truck. Elena had gotten out and was leaning against the door, weight on one leg, Marco on her hip. From 20 feet away, across a yard, and a lifetime of whatever family stuff had kept them apart, the two sisters looked at each other. The knife lowered. The woman, I never learned her name that day, and it doesn't matter, came off the porch at a run. She reached Eleanor, and the sound that came from both of them was not a word. It was something older than words, the sound of a gap closing, and I turned away because it wasn't mine. Owen and Lily climbed out of the truck bed. Owen stood with his hands in his pockets, watching the reunion with the detached composure he'd been maintaining all day. Lily walked up next to me and took my hand. Dad, is this where we're staying? I looked at the street. The houses on either side showed signs of occupation. Curtains drawn, cars present, one with a wisp of chimney smoke. A dead-end street near a river in a small city. Not a fortress, not a plan. Just a neighborhood where some people had decided to stay. I don't know, sweetheart. Elena's sister came over. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. Come inside, all of you. I have food, water, and the phone works. Landline, copper, come inside. So we went inside. The house smelled like coffee and laundry detergent. There was a pot of soup on the stove, still warm. The living room had a couch with a hand-crocheted blanket and a bookshelf full of paperbacks. A normal house, an ordinary house that had, by accident or stubbornness or grace, remained ordinary, while the world outside became something else. Lily sat on the couch with Professor Beans and Marco, who had discovered a basket of wooden blocks and was stacking them with the focus of a structural engineer. Owen stood by the window, looking out at the street. Elena was on a chair with her leg elevated, her sister kneeling beside her, examining the knee with the bossy competence of an older sibling. I stood in the kitchen and picked up the phone. Dial tone. A sound from another century, a sound that meant connection still existed somewhere in the physical infrastructure of the world. I dialed Christine's number. It rang. She answered on the second ring. Mark? I have the kids. They're safe. We're in Williamsport. Oh God, oh thank God. Are you okay? I'm alive. The guard is still here. They're evacuating the downtown. I'm going to the shelter at the farm show complex. We'll find you. When it's safe, we'll find you. Just keep them safe, that's all. Just keep them safe. I will. I hung up. Owen was watching me from the living room doorway. Mum? He said. She's alive. She's being evacuated. Something shifted in his face. Not relief. That would come later, or not at all, because relief requires the belief that danger has passed. And we both knew it hadn't. What crossed his face was something more precise. Confirmation. The information aligned with the model he'd been building in his head, and he could now make decisions based on updated data. My 11-year-old, my strange, serious, terrifying 11-year-old, who had navigated us across a state with an offline map and a moral compass I hadn't installed. Dad, Lily said from the couch, Professor Beans wants to know if we're still going forward. I looked at her, at Owen, at Eleanor and her sister and Marco and the blocks and the soup on the stove and the light coming through the windows of a house that was, for now, standing. Yeah, I said. We're still going forward. That night, Lily fell asleep on the couch with Professor Beans in one arm and Marco's hand in the other. Owen stayed up late, sitting at the kitchen table with a road atlas Elena's sister had found in a closet, marking routes with a pencil. Possible roads, blocked roads, unknown roads. He was building a map of the world as it actually existed, not as it had been printed. Elena's sister made up beds. Elena called David's mother on the copper landline because someone had to start the chain of calls that might, eventually, lead back to a man who went to find jumper cables and didn't return. I sat on the porch in the dark. The street was silent. Somewhere in the distance, I thought I heard a sound. Low, rhythmic, not quite human, but it might have been the river. It might have been anything. I'd left home 28 hours ago to drive my children to their mother's house. I hadn't reached the destination. I hadn't followed the route. Every road I'd tried had belonged to someone else. Blocked, barricaded, claimed, collapsed, or simply gone. I'd burned a tank and a half of gas driving in something very close to a circle. But we were here, in a house that smelled like coffee, with a phone that worked and a door that locked, and a woman who'd given us soup because her sister showed up at the door after years of silence, carried there by strangers. My children were asleep inside. My son had carried a toddler up a hillside. My daughter had counted the bumps on a bridge to keep her eyes closed over things a child shouldn't see. They'd done things I hadn't taught them because the curriculum changed in a single afternoon, and they adapted faster than I did. I'd spent the whole drive thinking I was the one keeping them alive. Sitting on that porch, in the dark, in the quiet, I understood it differently. I was the one with the steering wheel. They were the ones who knew when to stop, who to trust, and what to carry.